The space station called Nexus 7 floated in the darkness like a giant wheel of lights. Inside its metal walls, hundreds of alien species walked together, buying and selling, making deals and breaking them. Ships came and went every hour, carrying goods from 1,000 different worlds. Sarathal stood in a long hallway, her hands shaking. Her skin was made of something like crystal, pale blue and smooth. It caught the light and made small rainbows on the walls. She was beautiful by any measure, but beauty meant nothing when you were broken inside. She had been waiting outside the office for 2 hours. The sign on the door said, "Outreach, helping those in need." It was her last hope. Every other place had turned her away. Every other person had said, "No." The door opened. A human woman with tired eyes looked at her. The woman's name was Administrator Collins, and she looked like she had not slept well in days. "Miss Sarathal," the woman said, "please come in." Sarathal walked into the small office. She sat in the chair across from the desk. Her back was straight, her hands folded in her lap. She had learned to sit very still, to make herself small, to not cause problems. "I have reviewed your application," Collins said. She did not look happy. "Your qualifications are excellent. Your language skills are remarkable. You would be an asset to our organization." Sarathal felt a small hope rise in her chest. But she knew that word. But, Collins continued, "we have received communications from the Valkyrie embassy. They have made it clear that hiring you would damage our relationships with several council members. I am sorry. We cannot offer you a position." The hope died. Sarathal nodded slowly. She stood up. "I understand. Thank you for your time." She walked out of the office, down the hallway, through corridors filled with aliens who did not look at her. She was invisible to them. Worse than invisible. She was contaminated. Her money was almost gone. In 2 days, her permit to stay on the station would expire. Station security would put her on a ship to a prison colony, a place for unwanted things, a place where people went to be forgotten. She found herself in an observation deck. It was quiet there. The lights were dim. Through the huge windows, she could see stars spreading out forever. So many stars, so many worlds, and not one place where she belonged. Sarathal sat on a bench and looked at the endless dark. She thought about her home world, about her family. They had tried to love her, she thought, but every time they touched her mind with theirs, it hurt them. Her telepathy was wrong somehow, different. It caused pain instead of harmony. The Valkyrie were telepaths. They shared thoughts, emotions, memories. It was how they lived, how they loved, how they knew they were connected. But Sarathal's mind was like a broken instrument playing the wrong notes. When she tried to join the mental song of her people, she made only noise. They called her Discord. It was not a name. It was a diagnosis, a label, a reason to send her away. A tear fell down her face. When her people cried, their tears were solid, little crystal pieces that fell like rain. They made small sounds when they hit the floor. "You okay?" She looked up. A human man sat 3 benches away. She had not noticed him before. He was watching her with dark eyes. His clothes were warm, practical. A spacer's jacket with patches on the elbows. His hands were scarred like he worked with them often. "I am fine," she said automatically. "It was what you said. What you were supposed to say." "That's not what it looks like," the man said. He did not move closer. Just sat there, holding a bottle of something amber-colored. "I am Marcus, by the way. Marcus Chun." Sarathal did not know what to say. Humans were strange to her. They did not have telepathy. They were chaotic, unpredictable. The other species said humans were dangerous because you could never tell what they were thinking. "I am Sarathal," she said quietly. Bad day? Marcus asked. She almost laughed. It came out as a broken sound. Bad life. Marcus took a drink from his bottle. He looked at the stars, then back at her. You want to talk about it? No one had asked her that in so long. Not really asked. Not like they cared about the answer. Sarathol found herself talking. The words came out like water through a broken dam. She told him about being discord. About the pain she caused when others touched her mind. About being exiled from her world. About trying to find work, find purpose, find anything. About being rejected over and over. About the embassy that followed her, warning others about her. About tomorrow, when security would come for her. Marcus listened. He did not interrupt. He did not look away. He just listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said something she did not expect. Sounds like the problem is not you, he said. Sounds like the problem is everyone else is too busy listening to what they are supposed to think instead of thinking for themselves. Sarathol stared at him. I am defective. My own people say so. The doctors say so. Everyone agrees. Everyone agreeing does not make something true, Marcus said. He stood up, walked over, and sat on her bench. Not too close. Respectful of her space. I knew a guy once. Smart guy. Good pilot. The military said he was defective because he would not follow orders that got people killed. They kicked him out. Called him broken. What happened to him? Sarathol asked. Marcus smiled a little. It was a sad smile. He bought a ship. Started making his own choices. Turns out he was not broken. He just did not fit in their box. Sarathol looked at this human. This stranger who had no reason to be kind to her. I have nowhere to go, she whispered. That is a problem, Marcus agreed. He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, I have a ship. The reasonable doubt. She is not pretty, but she flies. I run cargo to places most people will not go. It is dangerous work. The pay is terrible. And I could use a co-pilot who speaks 12 languages and knows how to read star charts. Sarathol could not breathe. You do not know me. You do not know what I am. I know you are someone who got dealt a bad hand and kept trying anyway, Marcus said. I know you are sitting here crying instead of giving up. That tells me something about who you are. She looked at him. Really looked. Trying to understand why he would do this. But humans did not broadcast their thoughts. She could not read him. She had to trust his words alone. Why would you help me? She asked. Marcus shrugged. Maybe I have been where you are. Maybe I know what it feels like when everyone says you are wrong for being who you are. Maybe I'm just stupid enough to think that matters. He stood up. Ship leaves in 6 hours. Docking Bay 17. You want the job or not? Sarathol felt something break inside her. Or maybe it was something opening. She did not know which. She looked up at this human who offered her a choice when she thought she had none. Will you be my savior? She asked. Her voice broke on the words. Marcus shook his head. I do not do savior. But I might need a co-pilot. Your call. He walked away, leaving her sitting there with the stars outside and a choice inside. For the first time in her life, someone had given her a real choice. Not exile or treatment. Not conformity or punishment. Just a simple question. Did she want to come with him? Sarathol stood up. She looked at the stars one more time. Then she walked toward Docking Bay 17. She did not know if this human could save her. But maybe, just maybe, she could save herself. And that was something worth trying. Sarathol arrived at Docking Bay 17 with everything she owned in a single bag. It was not much. Some clothes, a datapad, and the crystal tears she had collected over the years. Her people believed tears held memories. She was not sure she wanted to remember, but she kept them anyway. The ship waiting there made her stop and stare. The reasonable doubt looked like it had been in a war and lost. Patches covered the hull. 3 different types of metal showed where repairs had been made. One engine looked newer than the other. Nothing matched. "She is not pretty, but she flies," Marcus called down from the loading ramp. "Come on up. Let me show you around." Inside was worse. Or better. Sarathol could not decide which. The cockpit had controls from at least 4 different ship models. Wires ran along the walls in ways that made no sense. A panel was held closed with tape. Actual tape. "This should not work," Sarathol said, staring at the engine readouts. "These systems are not compatible." Marcus grinned. "Yeah, but they do not know that, so they work anyway." He patted a console. "The port engine runs at 103% efficiency. The starboard runs at 47%. Averages out fine." "That is not how averages work," Sarathol said. "Works for me," Marcus replied cheerfully. "Come on, I will show you your quarters." Her quarters were small but clean. A bed, a storage locker, a small desk. The walls were bare metal, but it was hers. No one would take it away. No one would tell her she could not be there. "We launch in 3 hours," Marcus said. "Get settled. We have a job waiting." Sarathol put her bag on the bed. She sat down carefully. The mattress was thin but comfortable enough. She looked around the tiny room and felt something strange. Safe. She felt safe. The job Marcus described sounded simple. Pick up medical supplies from a gray market dealer. Deliver them to a frontier colony called Hope's End. Get paid. Simple. Why are the supplies gray market? Sarathol asked as they prepared to launch. "Because the official suppliers charge 10 times as much," Marcus said, working the controls. "And the colony cannot afford it. Kids are dying of a disease that is easy to cure. But the council says Hope's End is economically non-viable for aid. So we do what the council will not." Sarathol watched him. "That is illegal." "Gray market is not illegal, just not official." Marcus engaged the engines. The ship shook but held together. Sometimes the law and what is right are not the same thing. You pick which one you can live with. The journey to Hope's End took 4 days. Sarathol learned how to work the navigation systems. Marcus taught her about the ship, about space routes, about the 100 little tricks you needed to survive as an independent hauler. He talked while he worked, and she listened. She also learned about humans. They were strange. Marcus ate food that smelled terrible, but he said tasted good. He listened to music that had no pattern she could find. He made jokes that made no sense. But he was also kind, patient. He never asked about her telepathy, never tried to touch her mind. On the 3rd day, she asked him about himself. "You said you knew someone who was kicked out of the military," she said. "Someone who would not follow bad orders." Marcus smiled that sad smile again. "Yeah, me. I was a pilot. Good one, too. But I had a captain who cared more about regulations than people. We got a distress call from a civilian transport. Pirates were attacking. My captain said we could not help because it would put the military ship at risk. Against protocol. What did you do?" Sarathol asked. "I went anyway," Marcus said simply. "Saved 200 people. Got court-martialed for disobeying orders. They were right, technically. I broke the rules. Would do it again, though. You do not regret it?" "I regret that I had to choose," Marcus said. "But I do not regret the choice I made." They arrived at Hope's End on the 4th day. The planet was brown and dry, with one small settlement visible from orbit. But when they tried to land, they got a message. "This is Zerthic Health Enforcement. The colony is under quarantine. No ships may land. No supplies may be delivered. This is for the safety of the sector. Marcus frowned. We have medical supplies. Medicine for the children. Your supplies are not verified through official channels, the Zerthik officer replied. The Zerthik were a hive-minded species. They thought alike, acted alike. They followed rules perfectly. Regulations state that only council-approved supplies may be used during quarantine. You must leave, but the children are dying, Sarathal said. Regulations are clear. This conversation is over. The communication cut off. Marcus sat back in his chair. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he started plotting a new course. What are you doing? Sarathal asked. Finding another way down, Marcus said. There is a canyon system on the far side of the settlement. We can land there, outside the quarantine zone. Then we hire local smugglers to get the supplies into the colony. That is illegal. Not gray market. Actually illegal. Yep, Marcus agreed. But those kids do not care about legal. They care about living. Sarathal felt fear rise in her. If we are caught, I will be deported. You will be arrested. Marcus looked at her. Yeah, you want to vote on it? This is your ship too now. We make decisions together. No one had ever asked her to decide something important before. She thought about the children, about being sick and having medicine so close but unable to get it, about rules that made sense on paper but killed people in practice. We should help them, she said quietly. Marcus smiled. All right then. Hold on. This landing is going to be rough. He was right. The canyon was narrow. The ship was not designed for atmosphere flying. The reasonable doubt shook and rattled and made sounds that Sarathal was sure meant they were about to explode. But Marcus flew like he had done this 100 times. Maybe he had. They landed hard. The ship groaned. But they were down. Local smugglers met them within an hour. They took the medical supplies and disappeared into tunnels that ran under the settlement. Marcus paid them half the delivery fee. The other half when we confirmed the medicine arrived, he told them. Then they waited. Sarathal watched the scanners, nervous. The Zerthik patrol ships were still in orbit. If they scanned this area, they would find the reasonable doubt. Relax, Marcus said. The Zerthik are predictable. They scan on a schedule. We are between sweeps. How do you know? Because I studied their patterns. They do everything by the book, which means they are easy to predict. The confirmation came 3 hours later. The medicine had reached the clinic. Children were already being treated. They had done it. Now we run, Marcus said. They lifted off fast. Too fast. The engine screamed. But Marcus pushed them anyway, flying low through the canyons, then punching up into orbit at an angle the Zerthik would not expect. By the time the patrol ships turned to pursue, the reasonable doubt was already jumping the faster-than-light speed. They escaped. Sarathal could not believe it. They had broken a dozen laws and gotten away with it. Welcome to the life, Marcus said, grinning. Never boring, always dangerous, occasionally heroic. But the danger was not over. 2 days later, a Velkari patrol ship stopped them for a random inspection. Sarathal saw the signature on the scanner and froze. They will find me, she whispered. If they scan my biometrics, they will know I am here. They will arrest both of us. Marcus was already moving, hands flying over the controls. Not if we do not let them scan. He opened a communication channel. Valkyrie Patrol, this is the reasonable doubt. We are hauling radioactive isotopes for medical use. Our cargo is leaking. Recommend you keep your distance for safety. Provide your credentials and manifest for remote verification. The Valkyrie officer demanded. Marcus sent false credentials. Ones he must have had prepared. While the Valkyrie checked them, he was manipulating the scanner returns. making it look like radiation was indeed leaking from the cargo hold. The Valkyrie officer bought it. Your credentials are verified. Repair your containment and report to the nearest station for inspection. You are cleared to proceed. They jumped to faster than light speed the moment they were clear. Sarathol was shaking. You risked everything. For me, Marcus shrugged. You are crew. We do not abandon crew. That is the human way. Crew. The word settled into her like warmth. For the first time in her life, she belonged somewhere. Not because she was like everyone else, but because someone had chosen to stand beside her anyway. Thank you, she said quietly. Do not thank me yet, Marcus replied. Wait until you see what we are hauling next. It involves live animals and a very angry buyer. Despite everything, Sarathol laughed. It felt strange, good, like maybe, just maybe, she had found not a savior, but something better. A friend. 3 months passed. Sarathol learned the rhythms of life aboard the Reasonable Doubt. She learned which sounds meant everything was fine and which sounds meant Marcus needed to fix something immediately. She learned to drink the terrible human coffee Marcus loved. She learned to laugh at his bad jokes. She also learned she was good at this work. Her analytical mind, the same mind the Valkyrie said was broken, could plot courses faster than the ship's computer. She could negotiate with merchants in their own languages. She could manage their finances down to the last credit. Marcus said she had made them more money in 3 months than he had made in the previous year. You have a gift for this, he told her one evening as they reviewed their accounts. My people said I had no gifts. Sarathol replied. Your people were wrong about a lot of things, Marcus said, but her people had not forgotten her. A message came through official channels. The Valkyrie embassy on Nexus 7 had issued what they called a retrieval notice. They wanted her back. They said it was for rehabilitation. For her own good. Sarathol knew what rehabilitation meant. She had seen it happen to others like her. They went into the treatment centers as themselves. They came out as empty shells. Still alive. Still functional. But everything that made them who they were was gone. The Valkyrie said it fixed the discord. Really, it just erased the person. They cannot make you go, Marcus said when she showed him the notice. You are on a human ship. They have no authority here. They will keep trying, Sarathol said. They will make problems for you. For anyone who helps me. Marcus smiled. Then, we make sure they cannot find you. I know places in the frontier where council authority is more like a suggestion. We will work there for a while. He was true to his word. They started taking jobs in the disputed reaches, in systems where 5 species claimed territory and none controlled it completely. Out there, Sarathol met others like her. Not Discord Valkyrie, but outcasts from other species. There was Crow, a Krathax warrior who had lost his honor in a battle and discovered he did not miss it. There were 17 of many, a Zerthak who had separated from the hive mind and learned to think alone. There were humans who left Earth because they did not fit there either. All of them making lives in the spaces between the rules. It was in one of these frontier ports that they heard about the rescue contract. A civilian transport had been captured by raiders in an asteroid field. 37 passengers from 8 different species. The families were offering everything they had for someone to try a rescue. The council will not help, the portmaster explained. The raiders are Krathax separatists. The council says intervening might upset the Krathax homeworld. Diplomatic complications. Diplomatic complications, Marcus repeated flatly. 37 people are prisoners, and the council is worried about politics. Will you help? One of the family members asked. She was a small alien with 4 arms and desperate eyes. Please, my daughter is on that ship. Marcus looked at Sarathol. What do you think? Sarathol thought about being helpless, about being trapped, about having no one who cared enough to try. We should help them, she said. The plan Marcus came up with was insane. The raider base was in an old mining station in the asteroid field. It had shields, weapons, and psychic scanners to detect anyone trying to sneak in. Any normal infiltration would fail. But you are not normal, Marcus said to Sarathol. Your telepathy is different. Their scanners are designed to detect standard telepathic patterns and flag deception. But you do not have a standard pattern. You might be invisible to their scanners. Or I might set off every alarm they have, Sarathol pointed out. Yeah, but it is the best chance we have. They spent 2 days planning. Marcus would create a distraction. He would contact the raiders, claim to be a bounty hunter, and challenge their leader to a contest of warrior skill. Krathak's culture valued honor in combat. They would not be able to resist the challenge. While they were focused on Marcus, Sarathol would sneak into the station and free the prisoners. This is going to get you killed, Sarathol said. Probably, Marcus agreed. But I am pretty good at not dying. So far, anyway. They approached the asteroid field carefully. The reasonable doubt landed on a nearby asteroid, hidden from the raider base. Marcus put on what he called his intimidating armor, which was really just a jacket with some extra plates attached. He looked ridiculous. I look dangerous, he insisted. You look like you got dressed in the dark, Sarathol replied. Same thing. Marcus took a shovel to the raider base. Sarathol watched on the scanners as he docked. Then she waited. This was the hardest part. Waiting and hoping the plan would work. Marcus's voice came through the communication channel. Greetings, warriors of the Krathaks. I am Marcus Chun, and I challenge your leader to honorable combat. Sarathol heard laughter, scorn, then a deep voice, probably the leader. You? A human? You dare challenge me? I dare, Marcus said. Unless you are afraid? That did it. Krathaks could not refuse a direct challenge without losing honor. The leader agreed. The contest would take place in the station's main hall. All the raiders would be there to watch. That was Sarathol's cue. She took a small ship, barely more than a pod, and approached the station from a different angle. Her heart pounded. Her hands shook. But she made herself move forward. The station's psychic scanners swept over her. She felt them, like fingers trying to touch her mind. But they could not grasp her. Her broken telepathy, her defect, made her invisible to them. The alarms did not sound. She docked at a maintenance port, crept inside. The station was old, full of shadows and empty corridors. She could hear sound from the main hall, shouting. Marcus was putting on a show. Sarathol found the holding cells. 37 people locked behind energy barriers. They looked up when she appeared. Hope and fear mixed in their eyes. I am here to rescue you, she whispered. Stay quiet. She used codes Marcus had stolen from her raider database. The barriers dropped. The prisoners stood, scared but ready to run. Getting them out was harder. They had to move through corridors, avoiding patrols. Sarathol's telepathy helped. She could sense where the raiders were, feel the shape of their thoughts, even if she could not read them clearly. She guided the prisoners around dangers, through maintenance tunnels, toward the docking bay. They almost made it. But a patrol spotted them 50 meters from the ships. Alarms sounded. Raiders came running. Marcus's voice on the communication channel. Sira, get them out. I am coming. The prisoners ran for the ships. Sarathol stayed behind, knowing she had to buy them time. A raider rushed at her. He was Krathak's, big and strong. She could not fight him physically, but she could use her telepathy. For the first time in her life, she used her defect as a weapon. She reached out with her mind and touched his. Not gently, not carefully. She hid his telepathy with all the discord noise that made her people scream. The raider fell, clutching his head. The psychic pain was overwhelming. Other raiders came. She did it again and again. Each time felt like she was tearing something inside herself. But it worked. The raiders could not get past her. The prisoners made it to the ship stop. Marcus arrived, running and firing a weapon to cover their escape. He grabbed Sarathal's arm. Time to go. They ran together. Behind them, the raiders recovered. Weapons fire chased them. But they made it to the shuttle. Marcus flew like a madman, dodging asteroids and weapons fire. The reasonable doubt was waiting. They docked. Marcus was bleeding from a wound on his shoulder. Just a scratch, he insisted. You are bleeding, Sarathal said. I have had worse. They jumped to faster than light speed. The prisoners were safe. All 37 of them. Families would be reunited. Children would see their parents again. Marcus collapsed in the pilot's chair. The wound was worse than he admitted. Sarathal had to pilot them to the nearest medical station. She had never piloted the ship alone before, but she did it. She got them to safety. While Marcus recovered in the medical bay, Sarathal sat in the cockpit. She thought about what had happened. She had used her defect to save people. The thing that made her discord, that made her broken in Velkari eyes, had been the key to the whole rescue. Maybe she was not defective. Maybe she was just different. And maybe different could be useful. When Marcus woke up, his shoulder bandaged, he found her still sitting there. Thank you, she said, for giving me this chance. Marcus smiled. Thank you for saving my life. And 37 others. You are a hero, Sarathal. I am Discord, she said. You are amazing, Marcus corrected. There is a difference. For the first time, Sarathal believed it might be true. The news of the rescue spread across council space like fire. 37 civilians from 8 different species, saved against all odds. The family celebrated. They called Marcus and Sarathal heroes. Children made drawings of them. Refugees talked about them in hopeful whispers. But the council was not happy that the rescue made the council look bad. For weeks, they had debated about diplomatic protocols while people suffered. Then 2 individuals in an unlicensed ship did what the entire council could not. It was embarrassing. And the council did not like being embarrassed. The Velkari embassy was especially angry. They escalated their demands. They filed formal charges against Marcus for harboring a fugitive. They demanded Sarathal's immediate surrender for mandatory rehabilitation. By council law, they were technically right. Defective individuals of telepathic species were required to submit to corrective treatment. Marcus wanted to run. We stay ahead of them, he said. Keep moving. They cannot catch what they cannot find. But Sarathal had made a decision. No more running. I want to fight this. Fight the council? That is insane. Maybe, Sarathal said. But you taught me something. You taught me that sometimes the right thing is not the legal thing. Maybe it is time someone said that to the council. Help came from an unexpected source. Director Sarah Okonkwo, the human ambassador to the council, contacted them. She was a career diplomat, someone who usually avoided troublemakers like Marcus. But the publicity around the rescue had changed things. The rescue embarrassed certain council members, Okonkwo explained in a private meeting. But it also showed what individuals can accomplish when they are free to act. I can use this. If you are willing to fight, fight how? Marcus asked. A formal hearing before the council, Okonkwo said. We argue that Sarathal's case represents a larger question about individual rights. If the council rules that cultural mandates override personal choice, it sets a dangerous precedent. But if they rule in her favor, it protects countless others. And if we lose? Sarathol asked. Then the Valkyrie take you, Okonkwo said honestly. I cannot promise victory, but I can promise that we will fight as hard as we can. Sarathol looked at Marcus. He looked back at her. She could see the worry in his eyes, the fear, but also trust. He would support whatever she decided. I will do it, Sarathol said. I will stand before the council. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later on Nexus 7. It gave them time to prepare, but also time for the Valkyrie to prepare. They assembled a team of lawyers, doctors, and scientists. Their case was simple and strong. Sarathol was defective. The defect required treatment. Refusing treatment was illegal. Okonkwo assembled her own team. She gathered testimony from the families Sarathol had helped. She collected evidence of Sarathol's accomplishments. She prepared arguments about rights and freedom. But she also warned them. The council is political, she said. Many species support the Valkyrie position. Hive-minded species especially. They see individual defiance of collective will as dangerous. We need to change hearts as well as minds. The day of the hearing arrived. The council chamber was huge, with seats for representatives from 50 species. Crowds gathered outside. Some supported Sarathol. Others wanted her taken away. Security was heavy. Sarathol walked into the chamber between Marcus and Okonkwo. Every eye turned to look at her. She kept her back straight, her face calm. Inside, she was terrified. The Valkyrie presented their case first. A doctor in crystalline robes stood before the council. His telepathy was perfect, beautiful. Nothing like Sarathol's broken noise. Discord individuals pose a psychic health risk, the doctor said. His voice was smooth and certain. When they attempt telepathic contact, they cause pain and distress. This is not opinion. This is medical fact. Treatment corrects the neural pathways that cause this disruption. Without treatment, they suffer. Others suffer. Treatment is not punishment. It is healing. He showed brain scans, medical reports, legal precedents. Everything was professional, logical, convincing. Sarathol watched the council members. Many were nodding. They believed him. A Valkyrie lawyer spoke next. By council law, species have the right to manage their own members according to their cultural and medical standards. The Valkyrie have determined that Discord individuals require treatment. This individual has refused treatment and fled. She has broken all laws. The human Marcus Chun has aided her in this crime. Both should face consequences. More evidence. More arguments. The case was strong. Sarathol felt hope fading. Then it was humanity's turn. Okonkwo stood, but she did not speak first. Instead, she called Marcus to testify. Marcus walked to the center of the chamber. He looked uncomfortable in the formal clothes Okonkwo had made him wear. He stood there, a scarred spacer facing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. I am not good with speeches, Marcus said. I am just a guy with a ship. But I know Sarathol, not as a case number or a diagnosis. As a person. He told them about her skills, about the routes she plotted, the deals she negotiated, the lives she saved. He talked about the rescue, about how her unique telepathy made it possible. You call her defective, Marcus said, looking at the Valkyrie representatives. But she has done more good in 4 months than your perfect system has done in years. She saved 37 people. She keeps my ship flying. She learns new things every day. If that is defective, then maybe your definition is wrong. The chamber was quiet. Marcus looked around at the council members. Everyone here represents a species that thinks it knows the right way to live, he said. But you know what makes humanity special. We figured out a long time ago that there is no one right way. People are different. That is not a flaw. That is what makes us strong. He stepped back. The chamber stayed quiet for a moment. Then Okonkwo called Sarathal. Sarathal walked to the center. Her legs shook, but she stood tall. "I was born wrong," she said. Her voice was soft at first, then grew stronger. "My people told me so. The doctors told me so. Everyone agreed that I was broken, and I believed them. For years, I believed I was a mistake." She looked around the chamber, at aliens who had never felt what she felt. "Do you know what it is like?" she asked. "To be rejected by everyone you have ever known? To have your own family unable to touch your mind without pain? To be told that who you are is wrong and must be fixed?" She paused. "Let the question sit. I came to this station with nothing. I asked for help and was rejected. Over and over. Until one human looked at me and saw a person instead of a problem. It gave me a choice, and I chose to live." Sarathal's voice grew passionate. "The Velkari say treatment will fix me, but it will not fix me. It will erase me. I have seen what happens to Discord who go through treatment. They come back empty. Their minds work, but their selves are gone. You call it healing. I call it murder." She looked directly at the Volkari representatives. "You are afraid of us, of Discord. Not because we are broken, but because we think differently. Because we cannot be controlled through the collective mind. Because we prove that your perfect telepathy is not the only way to exist." The Volkari doctor stood. "This is absurd. We only want to help you." "Then let me choose how to be helped," Sarathal said. "Let me choose my own path. Is that not what freedom means? Or does freedom only apply when people choose what you want them to choose?" She turned back to the council. "I ask you to decide something important today. Do individuals have the right to control their own minds, their own lives? Or can governments force treatment, force conformity, force sameness in the name of health and order?" She stepped back. The chamber erupted in debate. Species arguing with each other. Some supported the Velkari. Some supported Sarathal. The council called for order, but it took time to restore quiet. The head of the council, an ancient being from a species Sarathal did not recognize, raised a hand for silence. "This matter requires careful deliberation," the head said. "We will adjourn to consider the arguments. A decision will be announced tomorrow." But there was more. The head continued. "Until the decision is made, the defendant Sarathal must remain in custody. She will be held at the human embassy under house arrest." Sarathal's heart sank. Custody. She looked at Marcus. He looked angry, but there was nothing he could do. Security escorted her to the human embassy. It was better than a cell. She had a room, access to communication, books to read. But she was trapped, and Marcus could not stay with her. Regulations. That night, alone in the embassy room, Sarathal looked out the window at the stars. She had spoken her truth. She had stood before the council. But she did not know if it would be enough. Tomorrow, they would decide if she was a person with rights or a defect to be corrected. Tomorrow, she would learn if being different was a crime or just a truth the galaxy needed to accept. The council did not announce a decision the next day, or the day after. Sarathal remained in the embassy, waiting. Marcus visited when he could, but guards watched them. They could not plan, could not prepare, only wait. They are playing politics, Okonkwo explained during one visit. Behind the scenes, pressure is mounting from both sides. The Velkari are threatening to withdraw from trade agreements. Other telepathic species are worried about precedent. But there is counter-pressure too. Grassroots movements. Outcasts from 100 species who see you as a symbol. A symbol of what? Sarathal asked. Hope, Okonkwo said simply. Hope that they do not have to accept what their societies say they are. While politicians debated, Marcus was planning. Sarathal learned this when Krell visited, bringing food and messages. "Your human is preparing a backup plan," Krell rumbled. The big Krathax leaned close. "If the decision goes wrong, he will break you out. Others are ready to help. We have a ship waiting. Routes planned to the deep frontier where the Council cannot reach." "He should not risk himself," Sarathal said. Krell's laugh was like rocks tumbling. "Try telling him that. Humans are stubborn. It is their best and worst quality." But everything changed on the 5th day. News broke that shook the entire council. A Velkari scientist named Thalisara had leaked classified research. The data she released was explosive. It proved that Discord Velkari were not defective. They were evolutionary variants with different telepathic frequencies. Their minds worked differently, but not worse. The psychic restructuring treatment did not fix them. It destroyed their higher brain functions and left them as empty shells. The Volkari government had known this for generations. They had suppressed the research because Discord individuals could not be controlled through the collective telepathy. They were immune to the mental influence that kept Velkari society unified. They could think independently, question authority, resist conformity. The Discord were not sick. They were dangerous to those in power. The galaxy exploded in outrage. The Velkari embassy tried to deny it, but the data was too detailed, too thorough. Scientists from other species verified it. What the Velkari called treatment was revealed as a method of control, hidden behind medical language. The council had no choice. They called an emergency session. The Velkari representatives looked panicked. Their perfect crystalline faces showed cracks, but the Velkari were not ready to give up. They made Sarathal an offer. A private communication came to the embassy. "Return willingly. Submit to a modified, gentler treatment." They would drop all charges against Marcus. She would become a propaganda victory, the Discord who chose to come home. "It is still treatment," Okonkwo said when Sarathal told her. "Modified or not, they want to change who you are." Marcus was more direct when he visited. "They are still trying to break you, just slower. That is not a compromise. That is just a longer execution." Sarathal sat quietly, thinking. She had learned so much from Marcus. About choice. About standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. About how sometimes the legal thing and the right thing were different. "I have made my decision," she said. Marcus and Okonkwo both looked at her, worried, hopeful, afraid. "I will reject their offer," Sarathal said, "and I will make a public statement." The council chamber was more crowded than before. News crews from 50 species. Protesters outside, both supporting and opposing her. Security everywhere. The Volkari representatives sat rigid, angry. Other council members looked uncomfortable. Sarathal stood before them all. She was not afraid anymore. She had chosen her path. "I have been offered a compromise," she said, her voice clear and strong. "The Velkari say if I return and accept modified treatment, all charges will be dropped. They say this is generous, kind." She paused, looking at each council member. "I refuse." The chamber erupted. She waited for silence. "I refuse because I am not broken. I refuse because treatment is not healing. It is erasure. I refuse because I have the right to exist as I am." The Volkari representative stood. "You have no legal standing. You are Velkari. You fall under our jurisdiction." "No," Sarathal said. "I am applying for human citizenship." The chamber went silent. This was not expected. Okonkwo stood, holding a datapad. "The application is filed and official," Okonkwo said. "Under human law, neurological differences are not considered defects requiring mandatory treatment. If Sarathol becomes a human citizen, Earth law applies to her. And we have treaties with the Council protecting member species sovereignty over their own citizens. The implications were massive. If the Council approved the citizenship, Sarathol would be beyond Velkari reach. But if they denied it, they would be admitting that cultural mandates could override individual choice to change citizenship. That species could trap their members forever. The Council had called for a recess. Hours passed. Sarathol sat with Marcus and Okonkwo, waiting. Marcus held her hand. Neither spoke. There was nothing left to say. When the Council reconvened, the chamber was tense. The head stood. This Council has deliberated on an unprecedented situation, the head said. The right of individuals to change citizenship is protected under Council law. However, this must be balanced against species' rights to govern their own members. We have considered the arguments, the evidence, and the implications. Sarathol held her breath. We approve the citizenship application. Effective immediately, Sarathol is recognized as a citizen of Earth. Velkari jurisdiction no longer applies. The chamber exploded. Velkari representatives were shouting. Some council members cheered. Others argued. But the decision was made. Sarathol stood, shaking. She had won. She was free, but the head was not finished. However, we add this warning. This decision is made because the applicant has demonstrated exceptional circumstances and because humanity has made clear their commitment to protecting her. This does not create open citizenship transfers for all who wish to escape cultural obligations. Each case will be judged individually. It was a compromise. Political. But it was enough. Marcus grabbed Sarathol in a hug. Okonkwo smiled, professional but pleased. Krell's roar of celebration could be heard from the gallery. The days that followed were chaotic. Sarathol went through the citizenship ceremony at the human embassy. She swore an oath to a planet she had never visited. She became Sarathol Chun, citizen of Earth. The name felt strange and wonderful, but her victory meant more than her own freedom. Messages poured in from Discord Velkari across the galaxy, from other outcasts of other species. They wanted to know if they could do the same. If they could choose their own paths, an underground network began to form. Sarathol found herself at the center of something larger than she had imagined. Not a savior, but a symbol that change was possible. Through it all, Marcus stayed beside her. When reporters wanted interviews, he deflected them. When she was overwhelmed, he reminded her to breathe. When she asked what to do next, he said, "Whatever you want." That is the whole point of freedom. A week after the council decision, they stood together at the docking bay where the reasonable doubt waited. Repairs had been made. Supplies loaded. They were ready to leave Nexus 7. Where do we go now? Marcus asked. Sarathol looked at the ship. At this battered, impossible vessel that had become home. At the human who had offered her a choice when she had none. You said the co-pilot position was dangerous with terrible pay, she said. Still is, Marcus confirmed. Is it still available? Marcus smiled. For you? Always. They walked up the ramp together. But this time was different. Sarathol was not fleeing. She was choosing. The ship's registration had been updated. Sarathol Chun, co-owner and pilot. As they prepared to launch, a message came through. More Discord Velkari requesting asylum. More outcasts looking for help. We cannot save them all, Sarathol said. No, Marcus agreed. But we can help some. And they can help others. Change does not happen all at once. It happens one choice at a time. The reasonable doubt launched from Nexus 7, heading toward the frontier. Toward freedom. Toward the unknown. Sarathol sat in the cockpit beside Marcus. She remembered the first time she had sat here, scared and desperate. She remembered asking if he would be her savior. How foolish that seemed now. "Marcus," she said, as they entered faster than light speed. "Yeah? Do you remember when I asked if you would be my savior?" Marcus nodded. "I remember saying I do not do savior." "That was the right answer," Sarathol said. "I did not need a savior. I needed a friend. Someone who would stand beside me while I saved myself." Marcus smiled. "Lucky for you, I am pretty good at the friend thing." "Lucky for both of us," Sarathol corrected. They flew on into the darkness between stars. Behind them, the council debated and politicians argued. But ahead of them was possibility, freedom, choice. Sarathol looked at the star maps on her screen. So many systems, so many worlds. And now, finally, she could choose which ones to visit. Not because someone told her to. Not because she was running. But because she wanted to. She was Discord. She was different. And that was exactly who she was meant to be. The reasonable doubt disappeared into the vastness of space, carrying two souls who had learned that being rejected by everyone might just mean you were never supposed to fit in their boxes in the first place. Sometimes salvation was not being rescued. It was finding the courage to save yourself and the friends who,